The Grand Council of the Seven Systems sat in silence. Elder Tak, his blue scales dulled with age, finally spoke the words no one wanted to hear. We have no choice. The Void Eaters will reach our homeworld in 15 cycles. Our fleets are decimated. Our colonies overrun. We must invoke the ancient protocols. Counselor Mira's tentacles twitched nervously. You can't be serious summoning them, the humans? They're just legends, protested Counselor Bren, his crystalline form glinting anxiously under the chamber lights. Bedtime stories to frighten younglings. Elder Tak shook his head. They are quite real. The archives confirm it. 5,000 years ago, our ancestors sealed away the coordinates to their system after witnessing what they called the Terran Fury. But they left a key to be used only in our darkest hour. The council erupted in protests. Humans were savages, unpredictable, dangerous. Counselor Drell, the most rational among them, raised all four of his arms for silence. What exactly do the archives say about these humans? Why would our ancestors preserve their location if they were so terrible? Elder Tak activated the ancient data crystal. A hologram flickered to life, a bipedal species with varying skin tones and no apparent natural defenses. Physically, they appear weak, he explained. No claws, minimal strength compared to most sentient species, average sensory capabilities. But appearances deceive. Humans evolved on a death world, a Class 12 gravity well with extreme climate variations, thousands of apex predators, and constant natural disasters. And yet they survived, whispered Mira. More than survived, Tak continued. They thrived. While we evolved in harmony with our environments, humans evolved against theirs. They developed a psychological trait unique in the galaxy. They become more focused, more resourceful, more dangerous when threatened. The archive showed footage of early human history, primitive beings somehow creating tools, taming fire, developing agriculture despite constant threats to their existence. What makes them truly terrifying, Tak continued, is their unique capacity for both boundless compassion and unfathomable violence, often simultaneously. They can form deep bonds with other species while exterminating threats without hesitation. If they're so formidable, why haven't they conquered the galaxy? Asked Bren. Because they nearly destroyed themselves, Tak answered. Multiple times. Their history is marked by devastating wars, environmental catastrophes, all of their own making. Our ancestors encountered them just as they were beginning interstellar travel. After observing human conflicts, they decided to quarantine Earth, hiding its coordinates from the galactic community. Yet they left us a key, Drell noted. Yes, said Tak. Because the same qualities that make humans terrifying also make them our only hope against the Void Eaters. The ancient texts call them the fire that burns both ways. The council chamber fell silent again as the magnitude of their decision sank in. The ritual requires a psychic beacon, Tak explained. We must send a single envoy to their world with our plea, someone who can withstand the mental strain of human consciousness. All eyes turned to Lynn, the youngest council member, known for her powerful psychic abilities. Her skin paled from emerald to jade. I've studied the old texts, she said quietly. Humans are unpredictable, yes. They might refuse to help, or they might demand terrible prices. Or they might destroy the Void Eaters and us along with them. What other choice do we have? Elder Tak asked simply. Lynn closed her eyes. I'll go. But understand what we're doing. We're not just asking for help. We're introducing a new predator into our galaxy, one that's been contained for good reason, as the council adjourned. Lynn looked one last time at the hologram of the seemingly harmless bipeds. Their eyes, she thought. Something about their eyes held both compassion and violence, creation and destruction, a duality no other species had. Mastered. May the stars forgive us, she whispered. The landing was rougher than expected. Earth's gravity, 1.1 times stronger than her homeworld, made Lynn's bones ache. The shuttle's cloaking systems had allowed her to set down in what humans called a forest, several kilometers from the nearest settlement. The air smelled strange, rich with organic compounds, pollen, and the peculiar oxygen mix that humans thrived in. Lynn's breathing apparatus filtered most of it, but she could still detect hundreds of unfamiliar scents. She checked her translator implant and reviewed the Terran language databases one final time. The oldest archives suggested approaching a small settlement rather than a major power center. Humans apparently responded better to personal appeals than official diplomatic channels. The walk was exhausting. Earth's wilds were nothing like the carefully balanced ecosystems of her home. Here, everything seemed to be competing. Plants strangling other plants for sunlight, insects devouring leaves, birds consuming insects. A constant cycle of creation and destruction, just like humans themselves. Lynn crested a hill and saw lights in the distance, a small human town nestled in a valley. Her scanner indicated approximately 5,000 inhabitants. Perfect. A sound behind her made her freeze. Something large was moving through the underbrush. Her bioscanner revealed a quadrupedal predator, approximately 90 kilograms. Local database. Match Canis lupus, wolf. The creature emerged from the bushes, yellow eyes fixed on her. Two more appeared behind it. Lynn remained still, projecting calm thoughts. Most predators on civilized worlds responded to psychic calming. These did not. They advanced slowly, clearly seeing her as prey. The lead wolf lunged. Lynn jumped aside, her lighter bones allowing greater agility despite the stronger gravity. But the other wolves were circling. One caught her arm in its jaws. Pain lanced through her as its teeth pierced her exoskeleton. A thunderous crack split the air. The wolf yelped and released her. Another crack, and the remaining wolves fled. Into the darkness. "You all right there, miss?" A human voice. Lynn turned to see a male human approaching, holding what appeared to be a primitive projectile weapon. His face displayed concern, recognizable even to her alien perceptions. Yes. Thank you." Her translator converted her thoughts to human English. The human stopped, eyes widening as he got a clear look at her non-human features in the moonlight. To Lynn's surprise, he didn't flee or attack. Instead, after a moment of shock, he lowered his weapon. "Well," he said slowly, "you're certainly not from around here." His name was Tom, a park ranger, responsible for maintaining the wilderness. He took Lynn to his cabin after binding her wound. "Can't say I'm surprised," Tom said, remarkably calm for someone encountering an alien. "Always figured we weren't alone, though I imagined our first visitor might call ahead." "You're not afraid?" Lynn asked. Tom shrugged. "Terrified, actually. But what good would panicking do? You're injured and need help. Details can wait." This simple response fascinated Lynn. Fear acknowledged, then set aside in favor of practical action. The archives had mentioned this human trait. "I've come with an urgent message," Lynn explained. "My civilization faces extinction. We need humanity's help." Tom listened as she explained about the Void Eaters, sentient rifts in space-time that consumed all matter and energy, growing with each planet devoured. How they had already destroyed 3 of the 7 systems. "Why us?" Tom asked finally. "Sounds like you folks have technology way beyond ours." "Because humans have something we lack," Lynn said. "Our species evolved in harmony with our environments. We built our civilizations on cooperation and balance. But the Void Eaters don't negotiate or compromise. They only consume. And humans. Your history is different. You've faced extinction-level threats, often of your own making, and survived. Your species understands existential conflict in ways mine never has." Tom was silent for a long moment. "You're asking us to fight your war." "I'm asking humanity to help save countless lives," Lynn replied. "But yes, we need your capacity for warfare, a quality my people have long forgotten." "I'm just a park ranger," Tom said finally. "But I can take you to people who might listen. Fair warning, though, humans don't all think alike. Some will want to help others." He trailed off. "Others," Lynn prompted. "Others will see opportunity," Tom said gravely. "New technology, new worlds, new resources. Not everyone will have the galaxy's best interests at heart." Lynn nodded. "The archives warned us of this. It's why contact was avoided for millennia. But we have no choice now. As dawn broke over the mountains, Tom made a call on his communication device. Lynn watched, knowing that the fate of countless worlds now rested on humanity's response to her plea. And in that moment, she understood why her ancestors had both feared and preserved the knowledge of Earth. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and perhaps the only hope the galaxy had left. 3 weeks later, Lynn stood before the United Nations Security Council. The wound on her arm healed, but the gravity of Earth still straining her body. The human leaders watched her with expressions ranging from fascination to suspicion. The Void Eaters have already consumed the Midar and Jolnari systems, Lynn explained, projecting holographic images of the cosmic destruction. 3 trillion sentient beings gone. My homeworld has perhaps 30 Earth days before they arrive. And you've hidden Earth's location for 5,000 years, said General Barnes, the American representative, only to seek us out when you need our help. Yes, Lynn answered simply. My ancestors feared what humanity might become if given access to the wider galaxy. They saw your potential for both creation and destruction. The Chinese delegate, Director Wu, leaned forward. Yet, now you need that destructive capacity. We need your survival instinct, Lynn corrected. The capacity to face impossible odds and refuse to accept defeat. The 7 systems evolved beyond warfare millennia ago. We have defensive technologies but lack the mindset for effective combat. You want us to be your warriors, the Russian representative observed. We want you to teach us how to fight an enemy that cannot be reasoned with, Lynn replied. And yes, we need your help in the actual battle. The debate raged for hours. Some nations saw opportunity, access to advanced alien technology. Others feared a trap. A few voiced moral objections to involving Earth in an interstellar war. Through it all, Lynn noted how the humans constantly balanced self-interest with higher principles, a peculiar duality. Finally, a compromise emerged. Earth would send scientific and military advisors to assess the threat. If verified, a joint human-alien defense force would be established. In exchange, the 7 systems would share certain technologies, particularly medical and environmental. As the meeting concluded, General Barnes approached Lynn privately. There's something you're not telling us, he said. Why did your council really send you? Lynn hesitated. The archives speak of what our ancestors called the Terran Fury, a quality unique to humans. Your species becomes more formidable when facing extinction. We hope to channel this quality. You're playing with fire, Barnes warned. Humanity united against a common threat can be a terrible force. Once unleashed, we may not be easily contained again. We are aware of the risk, Lynn admitted, but the Void Eaters leave us no choice. 2 days later, Earth's first interstellar delegation departed in Lynn's ship. The team included military strategists, physicists, engineers, and diplomats from 17 nations. During the journey, Lynn observed their reactions to faster-than-light travel, alien technology, and the concept of a unified galactic community. What struck her most was their adaptability. After initial awe, the humans quickly began asking practical questions, suggesting improvements, finding connections between their science and alien concepts. Where her people would have spent years contemplating new information, humans absorbed and applied it immediately. Dr. Rivera, the lead scientist, approached her on the 3rd day of travel. These Void Eaters, they consume energy, correct? What happens if they're overfed? I don't understand, Lynn replied. Every system has limits, Rivera explained. Even black holes can be disrupted with sufficient energy. What's the upper threshold for these entities? We never considered attacking them directly, Lynn admitted. Our defensive strategy focused on deflection and evacuation. Rivera smiled grimly. That's why you needed humans. We see threats differently. She turned to General Barnes. We'll need to run simulations on directed energy weapons and nuclear options. Barnes nodded, already thinking the same thing. If these Void Eaters feed on energy, perhaps we can give them indigestion. Lynn watched in fascination as the humans began formulating strategies no one in the 7 systems had considered, not because they lacked the technology, but because they lacked the mindset. Where her people saw an unstoppable natural force, humans saw a problem to be solved, an enemy to be defeated. As they approached the outer boundary of the 7 systems, alarms blared throughout the ship. The Void Eaters had accelerated. They weren't 30 days from her homeworld. They were 3. The humans exchanged glances. Lynn expected panic or accusations. Instead, she saw something else emerge. Focus. Determination. The beginnings of what the archives had called the Terran Fury. Change of plans, General Barnes announced. We're heading directly to the front. Dr. Rivera, you have 3 days to find these things' weakness. Lynn realized then what her ancestors had truly feared about humanity. Not just their capacity for violence, but their ability to transform crisis into opportunity. Their refusal to accept defeat, even against cosmic forces. As the ship altered course, she wondered if the Council had made the right choice in summoning humanity, and whether the galaxy would ever be the same again. The central defense station orbiting Lynn's homeworld was in chaos when they arrived. Thousands of refugee ships crowded the spaceways, fleeing the advancing Void Eaters. The Great Council had been evacuated, their leadership scattered across the remaining systems. Only Elder Tuck remained at his post, his blue scales now almost gray with exhaustion. His eyes widened at the sight of humans entering the command center. You actually found them, he whispered to Lynn. The legends made flesh. General Barnes wasted no time. We need everything you have on these Void Eaters: sensor data, engagement, records, energy signatures. While the human scientists pored over alien datasets, Lynn briefed Tack on the human delegation. They're not what I expected, she admitted. Less violent than the archives suggested, but more intense. They don't sleep much. They've been developing strategies the entire journey. Will they help us? Tack asked simply. They're already helping, Lynn replied. But they need to understand the enemy first. After 12 hours of analysis, the humans called for a meeting. Dr. Rivera stood before a holographic display showing a Void Eater, a shifting, pulsating tear in space, ringed by gravitational distortions. These aren't natural phenomena, she announced. They're engineered weapons. A murmur ran through the alien command staff. Tack leaned forward. Impossible. The Void Eaters have existed for millennia. No civilization could create such things. Not current civilizations, Rivera agreed. But these entities bear hallmarks of deliberate design. The way they harvest energy follows optimization patterns consistent with artificial systems. Someone built these long ago, perhaps as a weapon that got out of control. General Barnes stepped forward. More importantly, we've identified vulnerabilities. These entities maintain complex gravitational fields to stabilize their form. Disrupt those fields with sufficient force, and they should collapse. We've tried. Energy weapons, one of the alien commanders objected. They simply absorb the attack and grow stronger. You've been feeding them exactly what they want, Barnes replied. What we need is a gravitational pulse bomb, a device that generates a massive but temporary distortion in space-time itself. Theoretical, Rivera admitted, but buildable with your technology and our calculations. We need facilities, materials, and crews to build a prototype within 48 hours. Tack hesitated. You're proposing to create a weapon that distorts space-time? The risk is less than the certainty of extinction, Barnes interrupted. Your evacuation is already failing. At their current speed, the Void Eaters will reach this planet in 60 hours. We don't have time for debate. After a tense moment, Tack nodded. You shall have whatever you require. The next 2 days passed in a blur of activity. The central defense station transformed into a massive workshop as humans and aliens worked side by side. What amazed Lynn most was how quickly trust formed between the species. The humans' focus and urgency proved infectious, spurring the aliens to work at speeds they'd never attempted. Dr. Rivera barely slept, coordinating teams across multiple laboratories. When a critical calculation failed, she simply tried another approach rather than accepting defeat. When specialized materials ran short, the engineers improvised alternatives. Captain Lee, a human tactical officer, worked with alien pilots to develop deployment strategies. The pulse has to originate from within the Void Eater's outer gravitational boundary, she explained. That means a suicide mission unless we can develop remote delivery. Our largest drones lack the necessary thrust to penetrate those boundaries, an alien engineer objected. Lee smiled grimly. Then we build better engines, or we pilot them manually. On the evening of the second day, as the prototype neared completion, Lynn found General Barnes alone, studying tactical displays of the approaching Void Eaters. "You've accomplished in days what our civilization couldn't in years," she said. "The archives were right about human capabilities." Barnes didn't look up. "The archives missed something important about us." "What's that?" "We're at our best when we have something to protect," he answered. "Not just ourselves, but others, especially those who can't protect themselves." He finally turned to her. "Your people may have evolved beyond warfare, but you've retained what makes sentient life worth defending. Compassion, art, the pursuit of knowledge. That's worth fighting for." The moment was interrupted by alarms. The Void Eaters had accelerated again, their massive forms now visible even to the naked eye from the station. 3 vast, churning wounds in reality, each larger than Earth's moon. "They sense the energy concentration here," Tak explained, rushing. "They're drawn to it." As the station shuddered from the gravitational disturbances, Dr. Rivera entered with Captain Lee. "The prototype is ready," Rivera announced, "but we haven't tested the delivery system. Without proper targeting, we might just make them stronger." Barnes studied the tactical display. "How many prototypes do we have?" "Just one," Rivera replied. "We're building more, but they won't be ready before these things reach us." Barnes made his decision. "Prepare a shuttle. I'll deliver it manually." Before anyone could object, Captain Lee stepped forward. "With respect, General, I'm the tactical specialist. This is my mission." "Neither of you are going," Tak interrupted. His scales had regained some of their color, his posture straightened with new resolve. "This is still our world to defend. Show us what to do, and our pilots will deliver your weapon." As they argued, Lynn slipped away. She had brought humanity into this war. Now she would see it through. The small tactical shuttle vibrated violently as Lynn guided it toward the nearest Void Eater. Behind her, in the cargo bay, the gravitational pulse bomb, a deceptively simple sphere of gleaming metal, was secured by magnetic clamps. Her communicator crackled. "Lynn, return to the station immediately." Elder Tak's voice was strained. "This is not your responsibility." "It became my responsibility when I summoned humanity," she replied calmly. "I must see this through." General Barnes broke in. "Lynn, listen carefully. The targeting system needs recalibration for a solo approach. I'm transmitting modified coordinates now." Lynn felt a surge of gratitude. The humans weren't trying to stop her. They were helping her succeed. Another example of their peculiar duality. Pragmatic acceptance paired with refusal to surrender. "Coordinates received," she confirmed, adjusting her approach vector. The Void Eater loomed ahead, a chaotic maelstrom of distorted space. Its outer boundary resembled heat shimmer on a massive scale, while its core was a perfect absence. Not darkness, but nothingness. Sensors showed matter and energy vanishing into that core, feeding the entity. As Lynn crossed into the gravitational boundary, the shuttle's systems began failing. Artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Warning lights flashed across her console. "Hull integrity compromised," the ship's computer announced. "Structural failure imminent." "Lynn, you need to deploy now," Dr. Rivera urged through the sputtering communicator. "Get as close to the center as possible, then eject the bomb and activate the timer." The shuttle lurched as a section of the rear hull tore away. Atmosphere vented into space, but emergency force fields contained the breach. Lynn fought the controls, pushing deeper into the Void Eater's influence. "I can't get any closer," she reported as the shuttle began breaking apart around her. Deploying now. Her fingers danced across the control panel. The bomb disengaged from its clamps and launched toward the entity's core. Lynn activated the timer, 30 seconds, bomb deployed, beginning retreat, but the shuttle wouldn't respond. The engines flared briefly, then died as the Void Eater's gravitational distortions crushed their containment fields. Lynn, get out of there, Barnes commanded. Controls unresponsive, she replied with strange calm. It appears I'm following. The bomb after all. As her shuttle was drawn inexorably toward the nothingness at the entity's core, Lynn felt an odd sense of completion. Her people would survive. The humans would ensure that. Perhaps this was why the archives had preserved Earth's location, not just for the Seven Systems' salvation but for the galaxy's future. 20 seconds to detonation, she reported, watching the bomb signal on her remaining functional display. Then a new signal appeared. Another shuttle, approaching at dangerous speed. What are you doing? She demanded. Improvising, came Captain Lee's voice. Brace for impact. The human shuttle slammed into Lynn's, the impact redirecting both crafts into a spiraling trajectory away from the Void Eater's core. Emergency docking procedures activated automatically. The two vessels clumsily linking together. 10 seconds to detonation, Lynn's computer announced. Both engines on my shuttle are gone, Lee reported. Switching to emergency thrusters. Short bursts from the remaining thrusters pushed the joined shuttles toward the boundary, but not fast. Enough. We won't clear the blast radius, Lynn warned. We don't need to clear it entirely, Lee replied. Just get far enough that the station can retrieve us afterward. 5 seconds. Lynn looked through the viewport at the bomb, now a mere speck against the nothingness of the Void Eater's core. In her final seconds, she understood what truly made humans different from her kind. Not their capacity for violence, but their refusal to accept any no-win scenario. Their determination to carve possibility from impossibility through sheer force of will. The gravitational pulse bomb detonated. For an instant, reality itself seemed to fold. The Void Eater's outline contorted as its carefully maintained gravitational field collapsed inward. Light bent in impossible patterns. Lynn's consciousness stretched and compressed simultaneously. Then everything went black. She awoke in the medical bay of the Central Defense Station. Elder Tak stood nearby, along with Dr. Rivera. Did it work? Lynn asked immediately. Rivera smiled. Beyond our expectations. The Void Eater didn't just collapse, it inverted. Essentially destroyed itself from within. And the others? Retreating, Tak answered, his scales now vibrant blue again. As if they sensed the destruction of their companion and recognized a new threat. Captain Lee? Recovering in the next room, Rivera assured her. You both suffered significant gravitational trauma, but nothing our combined medical knowledge can't repair. Lynn tried to sit up but found her body unresponsive. The blast should have destroyed both shuttles. It nearly did, Rivera admitted. But General Barnes had a theory that the bomb would create a momentary shadow zone at specific distances from the detonation. He calculated your exact position and dispatched a rescue team to those coordinates. They found both shuttles tumbling through space, severely damaged but with survival pods intact. Impossible timing, Lynn whispered. Desperate timing, Rivera corrected. There's something you should understand about humans, Lynn. When we say we don't leave people behind, it's not just a noble sentiment. It's a fundamental aspect of who we are. As Lynn recovered, reports arrived from across the Seven Systems. The remaining Void Eaters had withdrawn to the galactic periphery. More gravitational pulse bombs were being constructed as a deterrent, and humanity had officially joined the galactic community. For better or worse, the quarantine was over. As she watched humans and aliens working together throughout the station, Lynn wondered which aspect of humanity the galaxy would ultimately embrace. Their capacity for incredible violence or their equally remarkable capacity for compassion. Perhaps she realized those qualities couldn't be separated. They were two sides of the same coin, the fire that burns both ways, humanity's ultimate terror and the galaxy's ultimate hope. 3 months after the Battle of the Central Defense Station, the first human embassy opened on Lin's homeworld. The building stood out among the flowing organic architecture of the alien city, angular, imposing, yet balanced with elements of beauty. Much like humanity itself, Lin thought. She had been appointed special liaison between the 7 systems and Earth. Today, she was escorting Elder Tak to meet with Ambassador Reyes, the newly appointed human representative. The meeting would finalize the defense accord, establishing a joint force against any return of the Void Eaters. The Council remains concerned, Tak confided as they approached the embassy. Humanity is integrating into galactic society far more quickly than anticipated. Already they've established trade routes to 4 systems and begun adapting our technology. They're natural explorers, Lin replied. It's part of what makes them valuable allies. Allies, yes, but for how long? Inside the embassy, human and alien staff worked side by side. The blend of Earth and alien technologies was seamless, another testament to human adaptability. Ambassador Reyes welcomed them in the conference room, a space deliberately designed with both human and alien comfort in mind. Elder Tak, Special Liaison Lin, she greeted them warmly. I have good news. The United Nations has ratified the Defense Accord. Earth formally commits to providing both technological and military support against any future Void Eater incursions. Excellent, Tak replied, his scales rippling with cautious optimism. We have brought our Council's final modifications to the treaty. As they reviewed the document, Reyes noted the added restrictions on human expansion and technology sharing. Her expression remained diplomatic, but Lin detected the subtle signs of frustration the ambassador tried to hide. The Council seems concerned about human influence spreading too quickly, Reyes observed. A natural precaution, Tak explained, carefully. Your species' rapid advancement is unprecedented in our history. With respect, Elder, Reyes countered, these restrictions would prevent us from establishing the defensive network we've outlined. The Void Eaters may have retreated, but we all know they'll return, potentially stronger and adapted to our weapons. The tension in the room grew as they debated. Lin found herself in the middle, understanding both perspectives. The 7 systems feared unleashing a new predator into the galactic ecosystem. Humans feared being hamstrung against a returning threat. After hours of negotiation, they reached a compromise. Humans would share their military expertise and help construct a defense network, while the 7 systems would gradually introduce advanced technologies to Earth. Oversight committees with representatives from all species would monitor the exchange. As Tak departed to report to the Council, Ambassador Reyes invited Lin to stay. There's something else you should see, she said. Reyes led her to another section of the embassy where a team of human and alien scientists huddled around a complex array of equipment. Dr. Rivera, Reyes called. Show Lin what you've discovered. Rivera looked up from her work, her face grave. We've been analyzing the data from the collapsed Void Eater. There's something you need to know. She activated a holographic display showing the entity's inner structure. These patterns here, they're not random, they're code. Code? Lin echoed. What kind of code? We believe the Void Eaters are not just weapons, Rivera explained. They're automated terraforming devices gone rogue. The patterns match ancient engineering principles, but with a purpose. They're designed to convert matter and energy into something else. Into what? We don't know yet, Rivera admitted. But look at this. She highlighted a sequence. This pattern repeats across all our scans of the entities. It's like a signature. Ambassador Reyes stepped closer. We think someone created these things long ago, perhaps millions of years. A civilization even more advanced than yours. And they might still exist somewhere. Lin felt a chill. You're suggesting the Void Eaters were sent deliberately? As in attack? Or as preparation? Reyes said carefully, clearing space for something else to move in. The implication struck Lin like a physical blow, not just a natural disaster but a precursor to invasion or colonization. or something even beyond their understanding. We haven't shared this with the Council yet, Reyes continued. We wanted your perspective first. The restrictions in the Defense Accord would prevent us from properly investigating this theory. Lin understood the subtle message. Humans were offering partnership, but they wouldn't be constrained if they believed a greater threat loomed. The 7 systems could work with humanity, or humanity would work alone, potentially circumventing the very restrictions designed to control them. The archives warned about this, Lin said quietly. Human determination can be as dangerous as it is valuable. It's not a threat, Lin, Rivera assured her. It's reality. If there's a greater danger out there, humanity will face it. With allies preferably, but alone if necessary. Just as Captain Lee faced certain death to save me, Lin realized aloud. Exactly. Reyes nodded. We protect what we value. We value the alliance with the 7 systems, but we also value survival. Not just our own, but all sentient life. As Lin left the embassy, she gazed up at the evening sky. The stars seemed different, now knowing what might lurk between them. The Council feared humanity's rapid expansion, their adaptability, their capacity for both creation and destruction. But what if those qualities were exactly what the galaxy needed? Back in her quarters, Lin accessed the ancient archives, not the censored version available to most, but the complete records her position as special liaison granted her. She searched for anything about creators of the Void Eaters or ancient civilizations capable of such technology. Deep in the archives, she found fragmentary references to entities the ancients called the Shapers, beings who supposedly engineered entire star systems according to some cosmic design. The records were incomplete, damaged, as if someone had deliberately obscured this history. Why? What were her ancestors hiding? And was humanity's unconventional thinking exactly what was needed to uncover these secrets? As dawn broke over the alien city, Lin made her decision. She would bring this information to both the Council and humanity. The future of the galaxy might depend not just on human military prowess, but on their relentless curiosity and refusal to accept limitations. The fire that burns both ways, indeed. 1 year after humanity joined the galactic community, the joint research vessel Horizon prepared for its maiden voyage. A marvel of combined technology, it carried the most diverse crew in known space, humans and representatives from all 7 systems, including Lin and Dr. Rivera as mission leaders. Their destination, the farthest reaches of the galaxy, where long-range sensors had detected unusual energy signatures consistent with Void Eater activity. Their mission? To investigate the origins of these entities and determine if the Shapers truly existed. Captain Maddox, a veteran of Earth's Space Forces, addressed the crew in the main hangar. This journey takes us beyond known space, beyond established protocols. We face unknown dangers with limited support. But together, we represent the greatest aspects of all our civilizations: courage, wisdom, compassion, and determination. As final preparations were made, Elder Tak approached Lin privately. His scales had faded further with age, but his eyes remained sharp. The Council remains divided about this mission, he confided. Many fear what you might discover, or awaken. And you? Lin asked. I fear what will happen if we don't look, Tak replied. The humans have changed everything, Lin. Their perspective forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. Perhaps that is their greatest value to us. And their greatest danger, Lin added. Tak nodded. The ancient archives speak of balance. Perhaps humanity is the counterweight our galaxy has needed. Too much harmony leads to stagnation. Too much chaos leads to destruction. Together, perhaps, we find the middle path. The launch was spectacular. The horizon rising from the planet's surface on pillars of blue flame, a physical manifestation of cooperation between species who, only a year ago, hadn't known of each other's existence. As they left the system behind, Dr. Rivera joined Lin on the observation deck. The stars streaked past as the ship accelerated to speeds no human vessel had ever achieved. I've been studying the archives you shared, Rivera said. These shapers, if they really engineered star systems billions of years ago, they must possess technology beyond our comprehension. And if they created the Void Eaters as tools, Lynn added, they might view us as nothing more than insects. Rivera smiled. Humans have a long history with insects. Sometimes they sting us. Sometimes we step on them. But sometimes we learn to coexist. 3 weeks into their journey, they encountered the first anomaly, a region of space where physical laws seemed to warp subtly. Sensors detected traces of Void Eater energy signatures, but no entities themselves. It's like footprints, Captain Maddox observed. They were here, but moved on. The anomalies increased as they ventured further. Strange phenomena defied explanation. Stars that appeared older than the universe itself. Planets with impossible orbits, regions where time flowed at different rates. Then they found it. A star system unlike any other, perfectly symmetrical with planets arranged in precise mathematical relationships. At its center, not a natural star but a constructed one. A massive engineering project that had been burning for millions of years. It's a beacon, whispered Jack, the ship's physicist. Or a lighthouse. Before they could investigate further, proximity alarms blared. 3 Void Eaters emerged from seemingly empty space, larger than any encountered before. The Horizon launched its gravitational pulse bombs, the weapons that had proven so effective previously. This time they had no effect. They've adapted, Rivera realized with horror. Exactly as we feared. As the ship executed emergency evasive maneuvers, a new signal appeared. A transmission, unlike any they'd encountered, directed at the horizon. It's coming from the artificial star, Communications Officer Park reported. It's responding to our presence. The message defied conventional translation. It wasn't language as any species understood it, but pure mathematical concepts, equations that described reality itself. Rivera and the alien mathematicians worked feverishly to decode it, while the ship ducked and weaved between the pursuing Void Eaters. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by alarm klaxons and damage reports. Finally, Rivera looked up from her console, face pale. It's a test, she announced. The Shapers left this system as a filter to identify species advanced enough to respond appropriately. Respond to what? Maddox demanded as the ship shuddered from a near miss. The message contains equations describing a specific frequency, a key to communicate with the artificial star, Rivera explained. But it also contains a warning. If used incorrectly, it could trigger a supernova. Lynn realized the terrible choice before them. The Void Eaters are herding us toward the star. If we use the key incorrectly, we destroy ourselves and potentially this entire region of space. If we don't use it at all, we get consumed, Maddox finished grimly. Classic no-win scenario. Rivera laughed suddenly. But humans don't believe in no-win scenarios, remember? She turned to Lynn. The archives said the Shapers engineered entire star systems. What if the Void Eaters aren't weapons at all? Understanding dawned on Lynn. They're tools, maintenance systems, like the defensive organisms in our bodies that attack foreign objects. Exactly, Rivera nodded. We're not supposed to destroy them. We're supposed to communicate with them. Instead of fleeing the Void Eaters, the Horizon changed course, heading directly for the space between them and the artificial star. As the entities closed in, Rivera transmitted the mathematical key, not to the star, but to the Void Eaters themselves. For a moment, nothing happened. The Horizon hung suspended between cosmic forces, the crew holding their breath collectively. Then the Void Eaters stopped. Their chaotic surfaces stabilized into geometric patterns. The artificial star flared brightly, emitting new signals, more complex, more nuanced. They're talking to each other, Rivera whispered. A new hologram formed in the center of the bridge, a representation of intelligence so alien it defied comprehension. Not a physical being, but a pattern of energy and mathematics. One of the Shapers, or perhaps their equivalent of an automated message. It communicated not in words but in concepts that unfolded in their minds. The Shapers had ascended beyond physical form billions of years ago. The Void Eaters were indeed their tools, maintaining cosmic equilibrium, preparing regions of space for specific conditions, clearing away matter and energy that interfered with some grand design. But the Shapers hadn't anticipated intelligent life evolving in these regions. The Void Eaters, programmed for specific tasks, had treated civilizations as cosmic debris to be cleared away. They didn't know, Lin realized. They didn't know. They were killing sentient beings. The message continued. The Shapers existed now on a plane beyond conventional understanding, but their systems remained. The Horizon crew had proven their intelligence by recognizing the pattern and responding correctly. The Void Eaters would be reprogrammed to avoid inhabited systems. As the message faded, the Void Eaters withdrew, their forms shifting into new configurations. The artificial star dimmed to normal brightness. Captain Maddox turned to his crew. I believe we just established diplomatic relations with a species that transcended physical existence billions of years ago. He shook his head in disbelief. Not bad for our first deep space mission. In the days that followed, the Horizon explored the Shaper system, gathering data that would revolutionize science across all civilizations. They found archives of Shaper knowledge, incomprehensible in its totality, but containing fragments they could understand. Clues to technologies beyond anything imagined. As they prepared for the long journey home, Lin found Rivera in the lab, studying one such fragment. You know what this means, Lin said quietly. Humanity now has access to knowledge that could transform them into something like the Shapers themselves, given enough time. Rivera nodded. The Council was right to fear us. The fire burns both ways. She looked up at Lin. But they were also right to summon us. Without human perspective, the Void Eaters would have continued their destruction. Balance, Lin echoed Tak's words. The middle path. When the Horizon finally returned to known space, they brought not just scientific discoveries, but a fundamental shift in understanding. The galaxy wasn't a place of random chaos or perfect harmony, but a complex ecosystem where both order and disruption had their place. Humanity's integration into galactic society continued, tempered now by a new perspective. Their drive to explore and challenge boundaries remained, but guided by the wisdom of older civilizations. The Seven Systems' pursuit of harmony continued, but invigorated by human innovation and determination. And somewhere beyond conventional space, the Shapers adjusted their grand designs to accommodate the unexpected miracle of diverse, sentient life. Years later, as new joint ventures explored the stars and Void Eaters were occasionally glimpsed monitoring distant regions, Lin reflected on the ancient archives' warning about humanity. Their ultimate terror wasn't their capacity for violence or their technological innovation. It was their refusal to accept limitations, an attribute that could lead to reckless destruction or miraculous salvation. The fire that burns both ways had proven to be exactly what the galaxy needed. A counterbalance to forces beyond any single species' comprehension. In the end, desperation had indeed driven the Seven Systems to summon humanity. But what they found wasn't just a weapon against their enemies. They found partners for the greatest journey of all, the evolution of consciousness itself, reaching ever upward toward the stars. The end.